Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Seeing Ability podcast. On our podcast, we're going to be talking with people with disabilities and those who support them. We're going to have conversations with parents, with therapists, medical providers, adults and teenagers with disabilities, nonprofits, and more. And our hope is to provide insights, advice, inspiration, and build a sense of community. My name is Jim Littlefield Dalmares. I'm your host. Let's get started. Today, I'm so excited to have with us my good friend, our guest. I think you're going to love hearing from her and hearing about her work and her story, Miss Sonia Johnson. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. It's such an honor to be here. This is great.
Well, we're talking about persons with disabilities, but we're all just people first. So I like to start off every episode with what I call the Fast Four. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. Number one, what's your favorite junk food?
Oh my goodness, chocolate, anything.
I love it. Number two, what's your favorite TV or streaming show?
Oh, it's got to be Game of Thrones, House of Dragons.
House of Dragons coming in strong. Number three, if we were to look at your playlist, what's a song we would find on it?
One of my favorites, it's kind of ramps me up, is Too Good to Not Believe.
Too Good to Not.
Cody Carnes, and Brandon Lake.
All right, I love it. Ramps you up. I love that. And then it's a little cold outside. I think this week it's supposed to get really cold. So what is your favorite wintertime activity?
Playing in the snow with my grandchildren.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. Well, welcome. Okay, now we'll switch gears to your work options for individuals. You're the executive director. Tell me a little bit about your all's work and kind of what brought you to that work.
Yeah, options for individuals. We provide services for individuals with disabilities, but not just services, empowerment, whatever skill building, resources, whatever they need. We're going to just problem solve and make it fit so they're living the best life that they like to live. I started out as a corporate dropout, really. I never worked in nonprofit, and I came into this by really getting to know a young man with CP and just getting really involved in his life and just seeing the need so much for that population.
That's fantastic. And I know we've got listeners all over. This is a nonprofit here in my hometown, Louisville, Kentucky. So great to have you on the show. When we're talking about persons with disabilities, and especially for parents raising those kids, one of the things that first comes up for parents, especially in the beginning, is this is a road nobody expected, especially for birth parents. And there's a lot to go through with acceptance of the journey is going to be different than maybe what you expected as a parent, maybe when you were expecting that, especially a first child, or it doesn't matter which one. There's a process of acceptance. You've seen a lot of families work in this world. Tell us your thoughts on that, and what have you seen as keys to help? What advice would you give for parents in traveling this path?
Number one is it's okay. The acceptance part of wherever your child is, they are genuinely wonderful in their area and they're enriching their area. So it's okay where they are. It's totally okay, and let them have the room to dream. Let them have the room to experience life. It's important. It's okay.
That's absolutely great. And then once you kind of get to that point where you're okay with stuff, I know you're a big advocate for getting your resources, becoming an expert, and kind of building that network and that village. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, it's really important. There's no rule book, but thankfully you're working on this, Jim. But you do have to educate yourself, and surround yourself around other individuals that are seeking. A lot of times we learn through trial and error a lot of something that may not work for somebody else, but it may work for you. But actually go in, you need to become a research specialist. And there's a lot of good information out there, but you've got to get out there and start learning and start, trying it and, experiencing it, to kind of see where it fits in. If it helps, not all of it's going to be great for you, but you at least got to try to start making yourself an expert so you know.
Absolutely. So information is kind of power. Arm yourself.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's very important. Yeah.
What about the idea of building a village and community and connecting with maybe others that are kind of traveling a similar path?
Absolutely. And you're only going to find that out by getting out in the community and with your child and your loved one and actually experiencing life a bit. I always tell the story of, when I was growing up, mom made me go to that birthday party I didn't want to go to, made me go do that. I was like, oh, I don't really like her, mom. No, you're going to go because you need to be able to get along and activate with all different types of people. We sometimes, with a person with disabilities, you kind of want to do that protective thing, right? And kind of, oh, I don't know if you're going to be ready for that. But it's such an education for not only our individuals, but for the community at large, to learn how to activate and work alongside, our individuals. And so it's really important to be able to start bringing in that community, because as you start doing that, you're going to meet other people. You're going to meet other advocates. You're going to meet other powerful people that can help you, that's how you connect.
How have you seen that come to life for the clients you serve? Maybe a particular family or an individual you've served where that getting out and being around others made a difference for them?
Yes, I specifically remember a young man that wanted to play basketball. That's all he wanted to do. He just wanted to be a part of the team. It's like, well, okay, well, I can't get out and dribble, but I can get out there and do it. And the parents were like, oh gosh, you're going to get hit and something's going to happen with this basketball. And I said, let's just go talk to him. And actually just talking with the coach and the team, and it wasn't a Special Olympics team, it was a regular school team. And they actually start working together. And what we found out is the students started working together with this young man, as well. And so he actually was part of the team. Now, was he always out there? No, but he actually became part of the team. So therefore, for him, as well as the family, it was an eye opener that working together with the community, talking about the needs, letting them know what's going on, and letting them all problem solve together to how to make that dream work for that young man was very important. And it's a very huge positive story. Now, even in working with adults now, we have a young lady just a few weeks ago. She's always wanted to work. She doesn't know how to read very well. We've been working on her with writing, and she just wanted to go work. And we were like, okay, we're going to solve this out. There's got to be something you can do. And so she's actually working now at the Dollar Tree. She just got her job a couple of weeks ago. And, she's working with stocking and inventory. And oh my gosh, just the confidence level for her now. And also the management, they'd never worked with a person with disabilities before. So they're also getting educated on the enrichment toward their workforce. So
I think in both of those examples, the basketball team and those kids, and then the workforce, we think about what change it's going to make for the person with the disability, for their family, that confidence. And absolutely, it's a game changer, right? No pun intended. But for the other side, for the other kids in that school, for the managers, what it does to just make them more comfortable being around a person with a disability and kind of break down those barriers of difference. Because, most of us, when we walk into a room, we all kind of have our own challenges, our own disabilities, but we don't walk in with a big label across our forehead that everybody in the room knows. Many of the people you work with, they do. And so immediately, the old judge a book by its cover. But I think when they're both the basketball example and the work example, when you're around those people, again, they're just people, right? So you kind of get to know them as people first, not disabilities first. So those examples. So I think when you think about kind of two things, one is getting people out with the regular community, kind of integrating, and then some activities, sometimes there's more segregated. You're around other persons with disabilities, other families with kids with disabilities. Those can be valuable too. Speak to the value of kind of both settings.
Yes. There is a value to being in that community, because how there's power in also in that community of numbers, and there's a comfort there. I think a lot of that, I see that happen day to day here at Options, is that we do skill building and training, and we actually have curriculum training where individuals work together with each other, and they see what areas they need help with, to work with, and they problem solve with each other, and they get practice on how, oh, this is how I'm going to be able to do this, actually out in the field in work. This is how I'm going to be able to do this. And that encouragement at that time where they can actually just concentrate on that within, without having to worry about, is somebody judging me because I can't do this? This is my practice ground to do that. So at that point in that segregated setting, they're learning that skill. That's when it's a plus, I think. So I think that helps at that point.
And how have you seen it bear out for not just the clients, but for the parents, kind of connecting with someone else who's in the same boat as you?
That is huge. That resource that we can get from each other and learning from each other's experiences is just, it's priceless. Learning from another parent, hey, I'm having really trouble here, working with this, trying to get the adaptive things I needed as far as helping them be able to be independent on, just serving themselves at dinner or working there. Michael, what's happening here? I can't seem to get a connection on anybody to help me do this. Well, then you've got a parent that's, oh, I have a good resource here. This person has helped me for years. Let's work on this. Here, I've got this very cool little spoon, just little small things like that. They seem like they're small to you, but it can mean the world to somebody's independence. And we learn so much from each other by sharing those stories and the experiences that we went through. And that's where that community is huge, where you need each other to be
Yeah,
able to
there's
help.
nothing like someone else who kind of gets you and has been in the same
Yes.
boat to share.
Yes.
Like you said, even the simple stories, the use of a spoon, the small techniques. And my daughter was born 22 years ago. The internet was not as much a thing, but today there's a lot of Facebook groups, all kinds of online communities, which have been pretty amazing to have that level of support.
Absolutely. And don't forget too, a lot of times there's other groups like for just your individuals as well. And don't shy away from those groups and think, oh, there's a whole group of people with disabilities. No, the same way we're sharing with each other as parents, they can share with each other experiences as students and, navigating as well. So those could be good too. Don't, shy away from those just because you don't want them in that segregated setting.
I wanted to ask you what
Built
you've
from that.
observed in the world of, I guess I'll call it expectations. Parenting in general, there's kind of two ends of the spectrum. There's the one parent that says, I'm going to let my kids kind of experience things, fall down, learn how to get back up. And then there's the other, sometimes you call them the helicopter parent, that over protective, don't want my children to suffer, going to make sure I set up a world where they don't have to struggle. That's true of any parent. Then you throw into it raising a kid with special needs, where a lot of people see they're going to have extra challenges on a day-to-day basis. And so for some, that instinct to kick in and want to do things for them, protect them, shelter them from harm could go into overdrive. Talk about how you've seen those spectrums play out, and I guess your advice for parents as they're navigating parenting a child who's growing up with extra challenges.
Yes, I've seen just recently, we had a young man that started with us a couple of years ago, and his mom had, she'd done the best to protect him. She really was trying to protect him, but she kept him away from a lot of obvious things could have helped him learn a little bit more about how to be more independent. And then all of a sudden, transitional classes stop in the school system. And now he's needing to be in the community. And he was really lost because he hadn't had any input on that. And, mom, she felt horrible because she's like, what have I done? I've taken him away from learning or getting the resources he needed, to be able to do that. I've been speaking for him. He should have had a Dynabox, which is a speech device, things like that. So I've seen that, and that is what will happen. But the other end of the spectrum that I have seen, which is a great scenario, which is a family that's very great. Mom is very much like that, but dad is not. And, so where mom is like, I don't think I want to do this. Dad's like, no, go do it. Get out there. And there's a young man, there was a performing art group with people with disabilities, and he really wanted to be a part of it. And it wasn't just all people with disabilities, it was all groups of people. And she had a problem with it because she says, well, he's got a power wheelchair. He's going to roll off the end of the stage. He's going to do this. He's going to do all this stuff. Dad was like, we're just going to be there. We're just going to do it. And finally, they came together on it. And he was able to get in there. Now, the young man was able to also express, because he had fears. He had fears that had been brought up from watching mom and telling him what he couldn't do. So he was kind of like, I don't think I can do that. But with talking and coaching and helping him, and also the other, children helping him, getting his network going there too, helped him as well. So he was okay to try new things. But that's the other part of that. When we do that to our kids, we're also setting them up to, oh, I'm different. I can't do that. I don't think I'm going to be successful doing that. And that's another reason why you really want to let them be able to experience things, but give them also the forum to talk about it. So if there is a fear there, if there is something there, so you can work through that, but you got to start doing that at an early age, because like the young man I talked about, if they don't, he's got some real challenges right now, some real behavioral health challenges and things going on that we're dealing with, and it's taking some time to carve through that, to work through that. But you've got to also just let them try, but also let them talk to you and listen and watch, because a lot of times our fears can become their fears as well. So we've got to really watch that.
Yeah, and I don't think those challenges of when to help and when to let them kind of soar on their own are unique to parenting kids with
No.
special needs, right?
No.
Anybody who's a parent knows that it's a balancing act, but I think it's
Yes.
especially important because, like I said, everybody around says this kid's going to struggle so much. We need to step in even more.
Mhm.
And that's a natural instinct, but
It
it's a
is.
cautionary tale.
And we're also teaching the community that. We're teaching the community that our person needs so much extra stuff. And, and we don't want to do that.
Right.
You know,
Yeah. Our actions are showing others how to act as well.
exactly.
So
Exactly.
obviously you're a little bit passionate about your work, running a nonprofit,
little.
just a little, running a nonprofit, like every job has its day-to-day challenges. There's budgets, there's all these things, there's raising money. What is it? Give us a story or two that when you really think why you found your calling, why do you love doing what you do?
Oh my goodness. I didn't realize the voice that people with disabilities had till I started working in this field. There was a young man. I had just sold my cleaning franchise, and I was just looking to be busy. So I wanted to work in the front office of a nonprofit. Yeah. And this young man walks up to me. He rolls up in his chair, and he's looking at me, and he's like, "Sonia, you read the Bible?" And I was like, yeah, I do. I do that on my lunch break. And he was like, I know how Jesus felt. And I was like, excuse me? And he says, yeah, I know exactly how Jesus felt. He said, when I was born, the people that loved me, my uncle, thought I was an abomination. So he tried to drown me when he was babysitting me. And from that moment on, I thought, what is this? This is the 1990s, the early 1990s, and people are having lives like this. What is going on? So I started reading through the lives of people with disability, and most of the individuals at the place where I was serving were actually wards of the state because they had been estranged from their families for some sort of way. Something had happened tragic within their life. And the stories I was hearing about their rights being denied and, across the board, isolated, kept locked in their homes, all these things going on. And I seen all these beautiful people come through these doors every day with these big smiles. And even though they had to work on so many things, they had therapies, all these things they're going to have to work on. I would be crying because I don't like physical stuff anyway. But they came in with a smile. I'm ready to work. Let's get this going. And I was like, these are the happiest people. But then I started reading those life scenarios, and I was like, okay, this isn't right. We got to change this. What is going on in our community that these people are living these type of lives, and everyone else is just going about having all these wonderful things happen? They're thought more valued than these people for some reason. Why is that? So that is why I decided they needed a champion, and I decided to become that champion. And then later in my life, two of my grandkids were very high on the autism spectrum, and I was so glad I had the knowledge that I had. God works in mysterious ways, because I was able to advocate for them, and getting them
Absolutely.
started earlier in life has really helped them with their walk and their journeys. So it's been a full circle.
Well,
Full circle.
your passion is self-evident and contagious. So I love hearing that story. Thank you so much for sharing. We've taken up so much of your time. I always like to wrap up our episodes with what I call the 3 keys. So let's imagine we're bringing you in. You're the keynote speaker. We've got a group. It could be in person these days. It could be on Zoom. And we've got some young parents. They have kids, maybe they're less than 5 years old. And in some cases, they have a formal diagnosis. In other cases, they just know that there are going to be challenges along the way. And they've asked you to come and share what's your advice to these parents. If you had to boil it down to 3 keys you would give them, tell us what those would be.
Okay, I'm going to try to just do 3 because that's what you asked for. But
You could do
first
4
of
if you
all,
really want to, but let's keep it to 3.
okay. Don't wait until that school transition team ends for your individual. Start planning in the front end of it, of what the life of your child should look like, those aspirations, those goals. So you can start bringing in, who you need, your team. Start putting your team together early, because it's going to take a team. It always takes a team, to help ground and raise children. So start putting their team together early. Just start seeking out those people, number one. And number two, don't overprotect life from your child. Don't do it. Allow them to experience, allow them to get a scrape on a knee. Oh, it's okay. It's okay. Allow it. Because even that's how, remember how you learned. Remember how you learned. Don't take that away from them. Don't take away that opportunity for them to grow internally and externally. And it's okay to dream. Okay. Surround yourself around with people and the services in place that can make dreams happen for your child. It's okay to dream.
All right. Since I like you so much, if I gave you a fourth, what would you add?
My fourth would be spend time at the places that your child's going to be spending time together to help them mold who they are. Don't just say, oh, I heard you're great, or, oh, I got to hurry up, get somebody here because I got to work today, so I need my child somewhere. Spend some time with those people and those staff, okay? Because the time that your child is there, they're going to be getting molded. So make sure you know those people and you believe in what they stand for, okay?
That's, I'm talking to a person recently and they were talking about the school environment. And they said, because you might have a child with special needs, there's a risk that you're going to be perceived as that high needs parent that's always wanting something. But the more time you spend in that environment and they get to know you and you get to know the teachers and the administration, you become part of that community, suddenly your requests seem much more reasonable because you're connected to that community. So that spending time and just connecting to those various communities really does pay dividends, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Yes, it does. It's very important.
Well, you have been so wonderful. It is great to have you on the podcast. Thank you so much. If folks want to learn a little bit more about your work with Options for Individuals, where should they go?
Yeah, you can go straight to our website at optionsforindividuals.org. And
I feel like
there as well.
I feel like there's so much to talk about. I might have to have you on as a future episode, and it might be fun to bring you back with one of your clients or maybe one of your
that
parents.
would be excellent. Yeah,
I'd love that. Well, thank you again so much for your time, for being here. Now, for our listeners, we'd love to get this podcast out to as many people who could benefit from it. So we could use your help. Number one, we'd love for you to subscribe to the podcast. We'd love you to give us a review. Be sure to like us on our Facebook page and share this episode with others that you know. Now, as always, if you have an idea for somebody that would make a great future guest, please contact me on our Facebook page or at seeingability@gmail.com. Now, we always like to end up the episodes with a quote. Today's quote comes from none other than Mahatma Gandhi. Live as if you were to die tomorrow, but learn as if you were to live forever. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll see you next time.